Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Pep Talk Pod. I am your host, Maria. Today's episode, Pep Talk, we are going to discuss a work-life balance. If you are sat there thinking, dear God, I'm spinning so many plates, I feel like I'm burning out, I don't have enough time for anything that I want, I've got all of these goals, so naturally I want to work on it in my business, and maybe you've got a 9 to 5 included in that, and there's just, like I said, so many plates spinning, and you're like, I just want to have that balance. This is for you. The very first thing that I want to say with work-life balance is it's not bullshit as such, but what I like to think is that it exists on different levels for everyone involved. Okay, there are people out there like Jeff Bezos who owns Amazon, etc. And he's like, work-life balance doesn't exist. If you've got goals, you need to go after your goals. It's a very masculine point of view. And to some extent, I do agree. There are going to be different periods in your life where you are going to have different priorities. You're not going to be able to, quote unquote, balance things in the way that maybe, you want to, or people on social media are like, you need to have a balance and you need to not burn yourself out and all of this sort of stuff. And like, yeah, of course we don't want to feel that way, but at the same time, I think when you have a goal in mind and you know that there's certain things that you need to do to take action on that goal, to see some of it come into fruition and start to manifest in your reality, then you are going to have to prioritize that above some other things. Now, that's not about saying I've got this goal and I'm going to work. Seem to be na. That's a millennial thing. Dear God. Cannot hear song lyrics and not sing about it. Anyway, that's not this podcast. When you are thinking about working, it's about asking yourself, how can I prioritize what I need and say to other people, these are my boundaries right now. This is what I really need for me to feel like, I'm taking action on my goals. But I also would really appreciate someone to be like, it's time for a little bit of a break. Maybe every Saturday, maybe every Sunday, maybe you can book a day off in the week. When you have a 9 to 5 job, you have days off, right? When you are an entrepreneur, it's so much harder to have days off because you feel like you're lazy if you're not working. You feel like you've got a voice in your head being like, get up, you're lazy, you need to do this, you've got goals, go. And you're just sat there staring into the abyss like, yeah, you can say whatever you want, but my body ain't moving because I'm in freeze mode. When you try to achieve this work-life balance, air quote, you are more likely to end up in freeze mode because everything feels like a perceived threat. Your brain will put you into that freeze mode no matter what you tell your body. It just seems to not be able to move because everything feels so overwhelming when you're like, I've got to balance this and I've got to balance that and I need to find time for that and that and that. If you actually stopped and said to yourself, I only need to focus on this one thing, how much more likely do you think you would be at actually doing that, completing it, and then moving on to the next thing? Actually allowing yourself the grace and the time to achieve one thing, one outcome, tick one thing off, rather than looking at it like I need to tick off every single box, every single day, every single moment of the day. It's just unrealistic. So, and I know being realistic ain't exactly the best word or the most exciting word, but I do think you need to understand that you're human, you're not superhuman, right? You don't have super speed or you can't freeze time, you can't do any of those things. So you have to ask yourself, where are my limitations and how can I use them as creativity? If I don't have time and I've got these goals in my business where I really want to achieve certain things. Well, for example, when Axel, my second baby, was born, I was breastfeeding him, I was learning all of that, and we didn't know when his naps were going to be. So my whole income to begin with was like one-to-one calls. And I was like, oh God, I just can't seem to be able to get these booked in because it's so unpredictable. So what I did was I was like, how can I still have that same impact on people but not need to be in these certain places at certain times? How can I make it suit the limitations in my life? And that's when I came up with Rise to CEO. And I'm so excited because April 2024 is our first year anniversary of Rise. And I have loved every single minute of it. And it's suited me and my family and my life so well. And I'm so grateful for that limitation of like, well, I don't have any time, I don't have any personal space, I don't have very much available to me right now, but I'm going to create from that limitation. So again, how does this work with work-life balance? Look at the limitations in your life and ask yourself, where are you just getting pissed off for the sake of being annoyed? Where are you thinking, oh, well, I can't change that. That's just part of it. Nah, babe, you can change whatever you need to change. Wherever you're feeling frustration, bitterness, anger, disappointment, as per your signature within your human design, then you need to look at those areas and say that my body has been screaming at me to make some changes for a long time. Am I going to make those changes, or am I just going to keep burning myself out, trying to spin all of the plates and, achieve this superhuman status that, quite frankly, nobody is able to do without some serious help? Ask yourself how you can prioritize those things, how you can allow yourself the boundary to say, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to just put my all into this one thing and move on to the next thing. For me, I've got my non-negotiables of, like, on a weekend, that is my family time. I might do a little bit of work on an evening, but generally speaking, that is our time. Then during the days, I've got the 3 days where I don't have Axel or Ella, so I'm like, those are the times where I get the majority of my stuff done, and I just pour everything into it on those days. It's about understanding that you cannot be everything at once, so stop trying to balance an impossible workload. And allow yourself to delegate, allow yourself to just be present with one thing at a time, and you'll find it a lot more enjoyable and a lot less like you're constantly rushing around trying to complete things to then just sit there staring into the void being like, I don't even know why I was rushing that in the first place. A lot of the times for me, the process of doing the thing gives me a lot more of enjoyment and dopamine than actually finishing it. So I don't know why I'm constantly rushing through things. I don't know why I don't just let myself take my time with certain things. It's currently 1:05 right now, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go get the kids at 2:15, get Ella from school at 3, and then I'm not even going to think about work. I'm not even going to look at it. I'm just going to watch YouTube Kids with them, get their dinner, play with them, hear about their day. And then when they go to bed, I might pick up my laptop again, but I know what my priorities are, and I'm going to allow myself to shift between them when I need to shift between them. So I hope this pep talk helped with the whole work-life balance maybe myth that there is out there. It's entirely up to you what you prioritize. If you feel like you are able to, quote unquote, balance those things in whatever way looks for you, then allow yourself to do that. But if you also just want to take one thing at a time, one day at a time, then also that is perfectly fine for you. As long as you know what your values are and that you're prioritizing the time you need to align with those values, you will be able to do things in a lot easier way. And one that kind of benefits the structure and the flow that you need in your life. Stop trying to do it just because you see someone else doing it like that on Instagram. They are not you. Even down to their human design, they have an entirely different human design to you do. So that's where I would start looking with that. And honestly, it's been doing me quite well for the past 18 months. I'll see you in the next episode.